Some brother you are, man. You had your brother Dark 1985. There's levels to this embarrassment. Getting embarrassed in this community out here eating Vaseline. What are you doing, bro? Playing sad music. Like, why these people bothering me, man? I ain't do nothing but console, and I gotta dress my son Ramian. While Puertorock was out here hanging with his buddies, he never came out once and defended me. I mean, I thought Puertorriqueños stick together, Holmes. What's going on here, essay? I said I do an essay, but I can't do an essay at Holmes. This is crazy, bro. Puertorock, man, you claim to be, Boricua, but yet you got your brother getting bodied right before the weekend. I don't get it, man. I really don't, man. But what's even more funny, you're still continuing this console war nonsense, bro. You even older than him. Like, that's crazy. You had him eating out of Vaseline bottles like this, playing sad music, taking two of his fingertips, dipping it in Vaseline. This is ridiculous, bro. We got to do better in this community, man.
Of course, more powerful than what they have right now, just a cell phone processor. No, I'm not saying it because of that. I'm not saying that console wars are over because the PS5 sold 75 million consoles. No. You see, I'm saying the console wars are over because it is now financially irresponsible to make your game exclusive to one specific ecosystem.
Yeah. Companies have started to notice that by making games solely for one platform, they're just not making enough money. It is what it is, bro. That's why you got Sony putting games on PC and Xbox putting games on anything that it can be, because the budgets of these games are becoming higher. So much so to the fact that they're going to need more people to buy them. How hard is it for you ponies to understand that this is what's going on in our own gaming community, especially that's dominated by third party and free to plays?
And that is the best thing of all. Everything.
All right. So far, the topic is, no more exclusives. Games everywhere, on every platform, all that stuff. That's pretty much what his starting argument is, right? That's his thesis. Like, if
we're hearing about Days Gone 2 being pitched and canned, Last of Us Part 3 even being canned solely due to the fact of, probably mostly due to exclusivity, then this needs to stop. I mean, even Resistance 4 had an idea out in this community, but guess what, Puertorock? Sony decided to can it. You know why? Because of exclusivity. This behavior needs to stop.
The paper, this is Steven's statement. So whatever information he got, it's, he's going to present this information that, putting games everywhere. So, all right, let's keep going.
Thing that these fanboys have talked about for years. Exclusives this, buy your console that. You can only play your game here, acting like petulant children is going to vanish faster than Thanos snapping his fingers wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. And you're going to see it put their games onto PC.
All right, so your PlayStation information isn't new. Like, that's not new information, bro.
So why do you fanboys act as if it's new? Why do you fanboys act like what's going on right behind you is not happening? Because you guys want to be completely oblivious to everything that's going on in the gaming community, and people here keep repeatedly telling you that this whole idea of a console and its exclusivity is just not working for them. You people know this.
Like, we already known that. Like, we known that for last year they literally said that. You know what I'm saying? This is May 30th, 2024.
Oh, it's over for PlayStation. They put him on PC. Like, you see how fast he skimmed through that? Now, let's rewind that. Hold on. Oh, yeah, let's look at that, man. He was so fast to skim through that, man. He wanted to make sure y'all didn't see that, man. You see how mischievous this dude Puertorock is, bruh? Man, that's crazy, bro. The console wars don't exist. Just pick up a platform and play games, bro. Nobody cares, bro. Like, all this, we got 75 million hardware sales just for you people to spend 1.5 million on Astrobot is quite embarrassing.
You know what I'm saying? This is May 30th, 2024.
Indeed, we are bringing our titles to the PC platform.
Woo!
And we have
no more exclusivity, baby.
A dual approach here. On the live service side, we are releasing our titles simultaneously, so day and date on PlayStation.
Wow. But yet you ponies want to act oblivious. The only time you want to bring this up is when you're getting called out, but let's go. I'm loving it.
5 and PC. But with our tentpole titles, our single-player or narrative-driven titles that are, as you saw in the presentation, the backbone of what PlayStation Studios has delivered in recent years and in our history, we take a more strategic approach.
That's incorrect. It's so funny that you guys are so quick to call Microsoft out for their lies, but there's a lie right there. Lost Soul Aside, that's being funded and published by PlayStation. Where is that game dropping? That's a single player game, mind you. Day and date on PC. Until Dawn Remake. Another day and date game on PC. So this whole, these companies don't lie to us, they're forthcoming, they honest. Well, you can use this to anybody. Like I said, I'm not even going to sit there and say Microsoft didn't lie either. But my point still stands. How is this going to stop your enjoyment of continuing to play these games on PlayStation? Because to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter.
Introduce our great franchises to new audiences. And we're finding new audiences that are potentially going to be very interested in...
Sounds like multi-platform talking, if you ask me.
Going to PC, live service games day and date, due to you need a mass amount of audience, right? And then obviously the tentpole exclusives or titles,
like Until Dawn Remake, like what's that other one? So Lost Soul Aside, and you people still capping, bro. Just go look at that game for yourself, guys, and you'll be like, whoa. Oh, I forgot. They have even Baby Steps, for crying out loud, is also dropping on PC. That's the game that I'm looking for, baby.
If you run on PlayStation, take advantage of PlayStation, then later on get ported to PC.
That's not true, because Lost Soul Aside, like I've said, you can look it up for yourself, is a single-player game being published and funded by Sony that is also dropping on PC day and date.
PC Game Pass grow consistently year over year as they are targeting a bigger audience on a different platform. We're seeing Nintendo...
It was announced like 2019? So that was last year.
No, it was actually announced 2015 when Quantum Break went to PC. Y'all just didn't see it. Y'all just didn't want to pay attention to it. I've known this since the beginning. Like, I've told people in PlayStation parties 10 years ago that this was going to happen to Sony and Xbox, and y'all weren't listening. Y'all were telling me I was capping, but it's okay. You laughed then, and now you're crying later. So it is what it is. I don't personally care about this, but I remember telling people in this community that this was going to happen. And what's funny that you're saying Nintendo's not going to do it, guess what? Nintendo's also going to do it too. See, this is what you people don't understand. I know everything. Maybe not as quick as Microsoft and Sony, but Nintendo is also putting themselves in preparation to do the same thing that you see what Microsoft and Sony is doing on particular games. Because not all Nintendo games sell well on their platform. Y'all should know better than that. Y'all should know that. Fatal Frame was a game that they co-developed and funded with Koei Tecmo. I hate bringing up this point, but they did. And that game was on Xbox and PlayStation. Nintendo funded that game. You know what I'm saying? We might even see Bayonetta dropping on other platforms. We might as well, right? Watch, they're going to say, it's time exclusivity, though. Oh, here we go with the excuses. I can't wait, bro. So like I said, when those Nintendo gamers thinking that, we're safe in our little zone, well, trust me, games that I go for everybody, and I'll let you know.
So far you got two pieces of information that's like, yeah, we already know that. Like, we already know that. Like, yeah. Ignoring PC space. For the most part. Like, who? Who are you talking about? I mean, maybe an obscure developer? I don't know. There's not that many people. Sony already announced their PC strategy. So all that's in the books.
Yeah, and guess what? And y'all still talk about exclusivity. So nobody want to hear it then, man. Just be quiet, play your games, and have fun. Because if this was such a console war, these games wouldn't be nowhere besides a console that you're playing them on. So let's just stop the cap, bro. Just enjoy your games no matter where you want to play them. And that's it. But no, Puertorock, of course you have to make a 1-hour video talk about Alex because you know that the truth is right there in front of you.
Talk about console sales, talk about exclusivity, when in fact there are none. If you were to pull up actual exclusive games on the PlayStation 5, you will see that the breadth and depth is nothing more than a shallow pool of spit levied on the actual asphalt on a hot summer's day. Compared to the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, you're seeing a massive depth and chasm of games available specifically.
But the reason why that is the case, though, and I've told people that, because those games was made by third party and were only exclusive on the PlayStation at the time. Do you get what I'm saying? This goes back to my original argument that the PS1 and PS2 mostly relied solely on third party. Because Sony don't own none of these games that this dude's bringing up. They don't, but they were exclusive at the time. You get what I'm saying? Now that has changed, now we're starting to notice that, dang, Sony never really made games. Sega, what another W, as well as GameStop. Because Sega said, during the PlayStation 1, when they were developing it, Sony, they don't know how to make games, and they never did. Y'all took the strategy from Super Nintendo by keeping Final Fantasy and all these games that y'all thought you owned as if they were exclusive to y'all, and notice that those companies abandoned them and said, you know what, we're going to be big. We're bigger than the platform. We're going to make our games for everybody. Xbox, Nintendo, we don't care. Look what happened. Namco, Square, all these companies said we can make money without you, Sony. Thank you for giving us the publicity and the promotion during that day. It's like Sony never had these games secured. Y'all know it.
For just those specific platforms. And even then, you could in fact go back and emulate all those games onto your Steam Deck and PC.
Yeah, but in those days, they were able to make games like almost every year. Take, for example, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Bro, stop with the excuses, bro. That doesn't matter, bro. That doesn't matter because the games that Sony's pushing out, which happen to be AA games, they should be able to push those out more because those games are not expensive.
Grand Theft Auto 3 came out in 2001, and Vice City came out.
Keyword. Those are not exclusives. Those are games. You can't even count Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas because they all came to the original Xbox.
In 2002. Like, you can't... The amount of games they were able to...
Well, honestly, it wouldn't even matter now, Puertorock, because all Grand Theft Auto's doing is Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. What are you talking about? Rockstar ain't really doing nothing too crazy anyway. So to sit there and say, well, they were pumping games out then, but Rockstar wasn't going to pump that many games anyway because they don't see the need to because they're making more money through the live service and subscription approach than if they sold you a game. You big dummy.
Publish and push out. You can't do no more. In fact, what is it? Rockstar alone on the PS2 got Grand Theft Auto 2, Vice City, and San Andreas, along with Midnight Club, The Warriors, Manhunter.
Manhunter. It's called Manhunt. Are you serious? It's called Manhunt. Manhunter. You hear this guy?
So that's 6 right there. In a 5-year span.
No, that's actually a few more because Midnight Club had 3 iterations. You had the Grand Theft Auto games. Then you also had Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories, which all were PSP games. You don't know what you're talking about, bro.
In 2000, 2005. That was Rockstar alone. I think they had something else. Something tells me I'm missing something.
Oh, yeah, you're missing quite a few.
Sequel to Manhunter? I don't know. But that's...
It's not Manhunter. It's not Manhunter. It's Ma'am Hunter. Bro, hear this dude, man. He out here calling Manhunt Manhunter, bro. It's Manhunt 2, you big dummy.
And those around about half are new to the PS Network. So it's really nice that we're able to bring in people from the outside. You see, that quote wasn't done in 2024 or 2023.
See, what people don't understand is the fact that gaming is changing, bro. I try to tell you guys this, man. Y'all really think, when you see the whole list of PS1 and 2 exclusives, and you want to bring up GTA Vice City, which are not exclusives because they're on the original Xbox, it goes to show you that my argument is always valid. Y'all want to sit there and denounce it and say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, GameStop, you're clueless. But yet we see time and time again that the PS1 and 2 solely lived off third party. None of those games was exclusives because now if you look at it, fast forward to 2025, those games are on every platform.
In 2022. That quote was done on a GQ article that was written in 20.
That's just how it is.
Generation to lose. He wasn't wrong. People have built up their digital libraries and they're refusing to move over to other spaces, regardless of how many exclusives a console in fact has. When we're seeing these same companies fight for that same $100 million user base, then you're going to be seeing companies have to do something else different or drastic in terms of trying to attract new customers.
I just like the fact that Puertorock is trying to argue facts, man. This is crazy, bro. We already know it, man. You can look at the top 10 games in your own country, Puertorock, bro. We don't even have to do a 1-hour video. Why are you going out like this, man?
Or gain more money.
So, hold on. So, here's my quick question. Where did all the Xbox One users go? Because Xbox Series consoles are selling like shit.
Well, we know that. You guys said, they went to PlayStation 4, right? Weren't the Xbox One had DRM, right? Was it the Xbox with the bundled in Connect kind of, made a lot of those Xbox One owners jump ship to PS4. Now that they built their catalogs during the PS4, a lot of them, only the diehards probably stayed about both platforms, and the ones that just decided to transition went with the PS4. It's a pretty simple concept to understand, but now we got a new fluctuate of gamers that just mostly picking up these platforms for Fortnite. And like I said, PlayStation seems, at least in regards to home console, seems to be the console to go to play games solely for that.
In the Xbox One. So all those people who are not buying Series X's, the ones who bought Xbox One but not buying Series X's, where are they going? Where did they go? Because if they didn't go nowhere, then at a minimum, the Series X or Series X and S, the Series consoles, should be selling at the same rate. You know what? I know you're going to bring Xbox. I know you're going to defend them. Because you're an Xbox fanboy who don't even own an Xbox. I know you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to somehow protect Xbox.
I find really interesting because I've been really bullish about... My audience gets mad at me.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Because I want even more PC push with even single-player games day and date. Because I think what we're seeing, I wonder if you have any insight into this, is...
Let them know.
These are separate markets. And I think that the PC games that Sony releases are actually selling worse than the previous ones. Like, Days Gone did really well. The original Spider-Man and Horizon. They're not doing worse today for any other reason than the novelty, I think, is gone. And it shows that there are really just two groups of people, and they're not necessarily going to migrate. So you might as well just go get them. Is that kind of what the evidence or what the data shows, is that there's not much of a loss to... In other words, people think that putting a game on PC means no one's going to want a PlayStation anymore. But I'm like, no, I just don't know that these people were that interested to begin with. And if they are, the only way you can really go and get them is to aggressively go and get them.
Now, I want you to sit there and really process what Colin just said. When you have people...
I really like the fact that Puertorock also skips the fact of that interview where that dude actually says, yes, there's a huge market in China that supports our games. And that's why we... How come you skip that, bruh? Like, you're so disingenuous, bro. You didn't even play out the whole interview. Like, you didn't even play out the most important aspect, bro. If you go watch that video, and we're calling, he even goes as far to say, yes, China is a huge market for us. We make a lot of money there, and we're going to keep doing it. But Puertorock, you see, and in his video, he cuts it out. You're a joke.
More sales overall. And that's
he purposely cut crap out of his video before you people say, oh, he watching his. He watching his. I think I remember seeing it on his own video. So you took a portion of that, and this what you did, bro. You skipping, man. I told you. But anyways, that's what is said. Y'all like, dang, Puertorock, man, you out here doing this petty garbage? Dude's out here editing other people's videos, man, with timestamps. It's crazy. He's like, yo, let me do this real quick. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Is Xbox still alive?
He's like, I don't want to play the important part. Let me pause the video and skip it. You saw what I just did. That's exactly what he did, bro. This man is a disgrace, bro. How you doing that, Puertorock, man? Come on, man. You out here skipping the important parts. Man, this dude is a joke.
Making the tweet, what does the blue line mean? Well, is Xbox still last? Those are actual players inside of a game.
Well, then you're good. But if you're going to hype Handheld Wars, then Steam is an abysmal failure. 3.7 million sales.
This is all this dude talks about. I hope you guys understand this, man. I was one time talking about the Vita, and this man was like, oh, the Vita's trash because it didn't sell well. I'm like, bro, that's all Puertorock does, bro. He don't play games. He just talks about sales, bro. He don't talk about how good the console is. But he goes as far to defend the PSVR, though, even though that flopped and failed. Just listen.
There's Handheld Wars, and if you're claiming Handheld Wars are coming, then Steam is an astronomical failure. An abysmal failure. If you're going to hype Handheld Wars. If you're not going to hype Handheld Wars, you treat the Steam Deck as, it's a niche product, 100 million. Right?
It's all this we talk about.
150 million. GameCube was 25 million. They still didn't do it. They're not going to do it, brother, man. And the reason why,
which is still not bad, considering that the N64 sold about 32. I think it was like 29. So that fan base was still consistent with what people was buying. Like I said before, people picked up the PS1 because it was the go-to console at the time. People picked up the PS2 mostly for a DVD player and as well as backwards compatibility. That's why during the PS3, Sony started struggling. Because people weren't picking up your console. They never picked up your console for your games. Because if they did, that's why they hate the 360. Because the 360 is what changed that dynamic of the power structure that Sony had at the time. Tekken was starting to be on other platforms. Final Fantasy, Grand Theft Auto was day and date with the 360. So that's kind of where, and also too, the 360 had better versions to a lot of those games early on. So a lot of people went like, oh, the de facto console was the 360. Now, Microsoft single-handedly lost that with the Xbox One, and that's why they said that that generation was important to them, because they could have took the 360 fan and transitioned them to the Xbox One easier. I can guarantee if the Xbox One had backwards compatibility from the gate, it probably would have single-handedly destroyed the PlayStation 4 right there. It would have. But, like I said, they made that mistake. Sony also made that mistake too. But the one thing they had was $100 cheaper, and then also the good graces, the fans of the no DRM, which they still had anyway. But you know,
I'm not going to do it is because they control their own lane with everything. They literally, remember, this is the thing.
How is Sony controlling their own platform if the best games is free to plays and third party and now Xbox games?
Nintendo is a game company. And the people in charge of it, they are very
a game company, but yet we don't see no games on our gaming console. It seems like Sony ain't nothing but a hardware manufacturer at this point for Xbox games.
With developers and gaming culture, they're not suits. And I would say that's the biggest advantage Nintendo has. No cap. That's the biggest advantage Nintendo has over anybody.
No, that's not true. Because Nintendo didn't have that advantage with any of their home consoles besides what the Wii, which was literally labeled as a casual console, right? The Wii U, for example. I mean, that was the console that Nintendo decided to leave the home console market way before Microsoft. So what are we doing here? So Nintendo only got power because they do handheld, but Nintendo's always dominated in handhelds. So it doesn't really make sense. Nintendo has always done well since the Game Boy didn't have color. That's not really a good argument. So all they did was merge the two markets together between the Wii U and the Switch. That's why if you notice, the Switch looks a lot similar to what the Wii U gamepad was, except it's actually portable. So there you go. That was Nintendo's farewell to the Wii U owner. That's why the specs from the Wii U is really not that much different than the Switch, because it's essentially the same console, but in a portable form. That's it, and a little bit more powerful.
You know, they don't have straight up white-collared suits that don't know shit about gaming. The people in charge of Nintendo, they know about gaming.
No, they don't. Nintendo don't know about gaming. All they know is that people buy Mario. That is it. That is it. See, what you people don't understand is the fact that when people are buying these games, they only buy them so on Nintendo due to nostalgia. But even nostalgia wears out pretty quickly when you consider the fact that nobody wanted to buy it, the Wii U. And also, too, let's not forget, the Nintendo consoles is also more tailor-made to children and nostalgic people. It is what it is. You know, I'm not saying a lot of it's not successful due to the games that they've offered, but I think that's just something that people inherently value with Nintendo, regardless. And that's because Nintendo has stayed strong with their vision by putting more emphasis on their games instead of what Sony did, which was third party. Now that Sony has lost third party, they lost the love of their exclusive audience, and now the audience that only plays them for Fortnite. That's all Sony's going to be known for, is a Fortnite box. That's what 99% of the people play on PS5. Roblox, Fortnite, you know the games.
That's the reason why, like, wow, back in 2013, due to the abysmal failure of the Wii U, the company execs, they cut their own salaries. They didn't lay off people like the way you see in pretty much everyone else in the industry. They reduced their salary. The president, who's earning the most money, he cut his own salary by 50%.
Well, you know, people at Sony ain't doing that, because what they're doing, they're cutting at least 90% of the games that Sony used to offer, man. Like I said, man, Puertorock, you got a 1-hour video literally talking about nothing, bro. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself, man. You got your brother eating Vaseline in the car, man, making videos, waking up his family, and you know, and disturbing the peace in his own household, and you out here worried about a console war, man. But like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, take care. Peace out.